Twins of Reddit. What's the best switcheroo you've managed to pull? I visited my identical twin brother at his college where a lot of his floor didn't know he was a twin. That night he had some people over in his apartment and I hid in the bedroom. Note: he has a beard and I don't. While they were hanging out, and me hiding, he announces to the group that he's tired of his beard and is gonna shave it off. So he escapes to the bedroom where I'm hiding as if to shave. We switch clothes and I walk back out to the group with my bare face. Everyone takes note and, while it's generally an unusual thing to do at a party, nobody thinks much of it. After a bit I announce, I kinda miss my beard. I think I'm gonna grow it back. At which point I go to the other room where my bearded twin was hiding. We switch clothes back and he walks back out to the group immediately rebearded. People lost their freaking minds. My sister was friends with a pair of twins in high school. They shared a single season pass to the local amusement park. The pass has your photo on it. So twin 1 would use the pass to get in. Then they'd slip out of view and slide it through the gate to the twin outside and use the pass to get the other twin in. I have a friend whose kids are regularly babysat by twin girls. He was telling me that whenever the twins would go clothes shopping, they'd go together. Twin 1 would find an item she likes, so twin 2 would go into the changing room and then come out to model it. My identical twin and I shared the same gym membership in our hometown for years. One of us would go in the morning, and the other would go in the evening. I think the workers just assumed we were one person that was really into fitness. We switched classes one day during school. Classmates got suspicious and started asking questions only the other twin would know. Had to switch back later during recess. I wouldn't say best, but I almost got it kicked out of me by the same guy twice in school cause my twin had pissed him off. Bloke was 2 feet taller than me and a foot wider. He would literally pick me up to eye level before I had to convince him I wasn't the one he was after. I dated a twin once and early in the relationship when I was picking her up on a date her sister came out and I was like, hey, and kept waiting. She got really weird and close but like hesitantly. Turns out they were testing me to see if I could tell the difference. Then they wrestled each other in the living room of their parents' house for a solid 30 minutes. It was as awkward as it sounds. My father is a twin, and he and his brother were both Royal Marines in the 80s. Back then, the UK used the Polaris nuclear system, and the codes for firing them were based in an underground bunker called HMS Warrior, now Northwood, the headquarters of the UK military. Anyway, they somehow managed to both get drafted to the same base, to do the same job, on the same shift. The job was to guard the safe with the codes for the missiles. To get to the safe, you would have to pass multiple checkpoints, with a different Royal Marine Guard at each one. Well, my dad was at checkpoint 5, or whatever the number, but the one right before the safe, and my uncle was on checkpoint 4. A 3-star admiral came down to run an exercise, went through checkpoint 4. My uncle gave him some smart aleck comment, pissed him off and let him through. The next thing the admiral sees, or thinks he sees, is the exact same bloke, stood at the end of the next corridor, same name on his uniform, exact same height and the most identical set of twins I've ever seen, let alone anyone else. He then proceeds to rip my dad an absolute new one, for treating this process like a game, screaming and hollering at him about how he's going to have his head, not believing his protests about him being a twin, calling him God knows what and storming past to complete his exercise. It wasn't until the following day, when both twins went to see him as part of the closing of the exercise, that he finally realized his mistake. Turns out my uncle used to set my dad up like this all the time. Not a twin, but I employed an identical twin at a nightclub. Didn't know it at the time, but several months pass and my employee Joe was aimlessly walking around. I walk up to her and stated she looks bored. Maybe she wanted to try working behind the bar that night, instead of waitressing. So, I put her through the steps. She's a natural and I eventually leave her to it. Come the end of the night, Joe comes up and asks about getting a contract for her sister. Her sister then approaches us while I'm staring at Joe, wondering how much she drank, and why on earth I'd give her sister a contract. After a few moments of staring back and forth between the two, it dawned on me. I had inadvertently hired the twin sister and trained who I thought was Joe. I asked the new girl why she didn't correct me when I called her Joe. Turns out Joanna and Jocelyn both went by the name of Joe. It was an amusing period of time after that. Eventually I made them wear different colored uniforms because I could never tell them apart. I wouldn't say best, but I almost got kicked out of me by the same guy twice in school cause my twin had pissed him off. Bloke was 2 feet taller than me and a foot wider. He would literally pick me up to eye level before I had to convince him I wasn't the one he was after. I briefly dated an identical twin. Her twin dressed up in her clothes and kissed me for a laugh. This caused a huge fight because I should have been able to tell, and we broke up. I'm not a twin, but I have cousins who are identical twins. The only way their teacher could tell them apart was by their shoes because they wore different shoes. My aunt overheard them getting ready one morning talking about switching shoes for the day to confuse their teacher. She thought it was hilarious and didn't tell them she knew their plan. Just played along. Far as I know, the teacher didn't notice. Funny enough, Logan has a small scar on his face from birth and Grant doesn't. So you actually can tell them apart due to that. I'm not a twin, but my best friends are identical twins. When we were in elementary school, they always got out of trouble because if one of them did something and the teacher saw them, they would always blame the other so they couldn't punish both. I think I posted this before, not sure though. Back when we were something like 7, my sister twin and I decided we would switch class. Since that day we wore the same pair of pants, we just switched our shirts and glasses, which were eyesight glasses mind you. During recreation time, when the bell rang, I went to my sister's classroom and vice versa. It could have worked if, in the middle of a French course, I hadn't started crying saying I can't do this, it was her idea. And meanwhile my sister got easily busted because she started doing my maths that I couldn't do previously before recreation. My sister's teacher realized I was my twin, understood the whole ordeal, and I was escorted back to my class. I saw my sister on the way and she was crying too. 10/10 would not do it again. Not an identical twin, but I went to school with a pair. They usually did it during test because they had the same classes but different periods, so one would take a test in the M and know all the questions and go back at the end of the day after switching clothes and take the test again. Cousins of mine are identical twins. One time one of them got a serious speeding ticket, but both said it wasn't them, they actually didn't know, and it ended up in court. After a year or so the judge made a decision and one of them had to pay. Not a switch we planned and executed together, and not one I pulled off on purpose, but my twin was always dating in high school and going through boyfriends hard and fast while I was too shy to order food for myself, let alone date anyone. I spent my high school years hiding in books and video games while she snuck out to parties and midnight rendezvous with Mr. Flavor of the Week. It being high school, there were always stories going around that started with "Did you hear?" And at one point I got targeted by a few bullies that seemed to enjoy how uncomfortable I got hearing the latest dirty rumor about my sister. Years later I start getting naked on the internet, and guess which twin everyone assumes I am. Funny story that I've heard from my mom my entire life. So, IDK with all twins, but with my brother and I. We were labeled baby A and baby B before we were born, and which one was supposed to come out first? Which was supposed to be my brother. But instead of that happening, I pushed him out of the way and tried to go out the wrong way. And because of that, we were a C-section because of me. And because I did that they took me out first, so now I'm the older brother when I was supposed to be the younger one.